Out on the lawless frontier, where fortunes are won and lost at the turn of a card, love was the one gamble no man dared to play. But when a mysterious bride appeared in a dusty saloon, clutching a secret that could cost her life, a gambler with nothing left to lose decided to stake it all. Stay with us. As this story unfolds, each tale here brings the hidden romances of the Wild West alive. If you love these journeys, consider joining us so you never miss a chapter. They said Widow's Creek was cursed, and maybe they were right. The town didn't just sit there on the prairie, it brooded, like a secret that refused to stay buried. Wooden storefronts leaned with age. The church bell hadn't tolled in years, and the dust blowing through Main Street tasted of gunpowder and old sins. That's where I came in. Not looking for trouble, just whiskey. Maybe a warm bed to forget the road. But in places like Widow's Creek, trouble always finds a way to shake your hand before you've even finished your drink. The saloon doors swung open with a groan, hinges screaming like they resented another soul stepping inside. The air was thick with cigar smoke, cheap perfume, and the restless scrape of boots across warped floorboards. Cards slapped against tables, glasses clinked. A piano stumbled through a tune nobody cared to finish. Then I saw her, Elisa Blackthorne. Every man in the saloon looked her way, but none dared linger too long. She wasn't dressed like the other women, no frills, no painted smiles. She wore black silk that caught the lamplight like a shadow made flesh, her raven hair pinned high, and eyes the color of midnight storms. The kind of eyes that made promises, dangerous promises. She was pouring whiskey behind the bar, but everyone knew Eliza didn't belong there. She wasn't serving drinks. She was serving judgment. And the men? They lined up for both, willing or not. I pushed through the crowd, boots heavy with trail dust, and slid a coin across the bar. Whiskey, I muttered. Her gaze flicked up, sharp as a drawn blade. You're new, she said, her voice low, velvet with an edge. And already you look tired of carrying ghosts. I almost laughed, but the sound died in my throat. She was right. My ghosts weren't far behind, never were. Just thirsty, I told her. Her lips curved into something between a smile and a warning. She poured the whiskey slow, letting the amber catch the lamplight. When she slid the glass toward me, her fingers brushed mine cold, deliberate. You'll find no peace in Widow's Creek, she whispered. But you might find an ending. Before I could answer, the saloon doors crashed open. 3 men stalked in, dust still clinging to their coats, guns low on their hips, eyes mean and searching. The piano went silent. Cards froze mid-hand. Every drunk in the room sobered in an instant. The leader, a scar running from temple to jaw, scanned the saloon. His gaze landed on me and lingered. There, he snarled. The room emptied of sound. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. I didn't move, didn't blink. My hand drifted near the whiskey glass, not for the drink, but for the weight of steel waiting at my hip. Eliza's voice cut through the silence, cool and steady. Not here, she said. Not in my house. The scarred man sneered. Then maybe outside. The saloon seemed to pulse with tension. Men shifted, eyes darting between me and the outlaws. Nobody wanted to see blood spilled inside Eliza's saloon. Nobody dared interfere either. I tossed back the whiskey, the burn crawling down my throat like fire. Then I stood, boots heavy on the boards, heart steady as a drumbeat. Eliza leaned close as I passed. Her whisper ghosted against my ear. If you walk out there, you won't walk back in. Unless, I turned, caught in the storm of her gaze. Unless what? Her lips parted, soft, dangerous. Unless you're the man I've been waiting for. The doors slammed shut behind me as I stepped onto Main Street. The night air was cold, sharp with the scent of rain and dust. The three men fanned out, hands brushing gun handles, eyes hungry for violence. And in that frozen heartbeat before the first shot, I realized something. Widow's Creek wasn't cursed because of the land. It was cursed because of her. And I was already caught in the spell. The first shot split the night like thunder. It didn't come from me, and it didn't come from them. It came from somewhere high, somewhere hidden. A warning, maybe, or a promise. The three outlaws froze, guns half drawn, eyes darting to the rooftops. For a moment, the whole town seemed alive with shadows. Widow's Creek had a way of watching its own bloodshed. Scarface spat in the dirt. "Enough games," he growled. "Draw." I didn't, not yet. My hand hovered near the Colt, fingers twitching, waiting. The air was so still, I swore I could hear the wind holding its breath. Then boots scraped against gravel behind me. A fourth man, no two, slipping out from the alleys, rifles glinting in the moonlight. The ambush had been laid long before I ever walked into that saloon. I cursed under my breath. This wasn't a fight. It was a burial, waiting for a name. Eliza's words echoed. "You won't walk back in. Unless..." The first outlaw lunged. I drew. Steel roared. The shot punched him backward into the dirt, dead before the echo faded. The street erupted. Bullets screamed past, splintering posts, shattering glass. I dove behind a horse trough, wood exploding inches from my head. My Colt barked twice. Another man stumbled, clutching his chest, blood spilling black in the lamplight. Scarface laughed, wild and cruel. "You should have stayed thirsty, stranger." He and the rifleman herded me, driving me toward the alley. My boots kicked up dust, breath burning in my chest. A bullet tore through my sleeve. Another grazed the brim of my hat. I vaulted into the shadows, heart pounding. The alley stank of rot and rainwater, narrow as a coffin. Trash barrels offered little cover. Somewhere above, shutters banged open, then slammed shut. No one in Widow's Creek was fool enough to pick a side. Scarface's voice echoed. "You ain't the first man to cross us, but you'll be the last to walk away." I ducked behind a barrel, thumbed back the hammer. My mind raced. Too many of them, too close, and then hoofbeats, slow, steady, deliberate. From the far end of the alley, a figure rode into the lamplight. Black horse, black hat, rifle resting casual across the saddle. Elisa Blackthorn. The sight of her stole the breath from my lungs more than any bullet could. She didn't ride like a saloon keeper. She rode like a queen surveying her kingdom of dust and blood. The rifle cracked once. A rifleman spun sideways, dropped like a rag doll. She chambered another round before the echo faded. Her voice rang out, steady as iron. I said not in my town. For a heartbeat, even Scarface faltered. Then rage twisted his scar and he charged. I met him halfway. The alley exploded in violent gunfire. Fists, the grunt of men too stubborn to die quick. His blade flashed. Pain seared my side. My Colt answered, grazing his arm. He roared, swung wild, and I slammed him into the wall. Boards, splintering beneath the weight. But he was stronger, fueled by fury. His hand closed around my throat, lifting me off the ground. My vision blurred, spots dancing in the dark. And then, the crack of Eliza's rifle again. Scarface staggered. His grip loosened. I tore free, driving the Colt's barrel against his chest. For a moment, his eyes widened, not in fear, but in recognition. "You," he rasped. "You don't even know what you're in." Then I pulled the trigger. Silence. He fell, dust rising around him like smoke from a finished fire. The alley smelled of blood and cordite. My breath came ragged, my shirt wet with more than sweat. Eliza dismounted, boots clicking against the cobblestones. She looked down at Scarface's body, then at me. Those storm-dark eyes didn't blink. "You fight like a man with nothing left to lose," she said. I wiped the blood from my mouth. "Maybe I don't." Her gaze lingered. Then she nodded once, as if confirming something only she understood. "You'll ride with me now," she said simply. "If you want to live." I should have laughed, should have walked away. But there was something in her tone, something cold and certain. Widow's Creek wasn't offering choices anymore. The last outlaw fled into the night, boots hammering the dust. I thought about chasing him, finishing the job, but Eliza laid a hand on my arm. "Let him run," she whispered. "He'll carry the story. Fear does more work than a bullet." The alley seemed smaller then, like the walls were closing in. My chest heaved, and I realized she was right. Already Widow's Creek wasn't mine to walk away from. It was hers, and I was bound to it now. We rode out before dawn, the horizon burning red, with the promise of another storm. The canyon swallowed sound. Our horses' hooves echoed off the stone walls, a hollow drumbeat that rolled ahead of us like thunder. Dawn had barely broken, and the sky above was streaked with crimson and ash-gray clouds, the kind that warned of storms yet to come. Eliza rode ahead, her black cloak snapping like a banner of war. She didn't look back, not once. It was as if she trusted I'd follow, or as if she already owned my path. "You didn't have to step in," I said. Finally, my voice low against the canyon wind, her head tilted, just enough for her words to carry back. "Yes, I did. Widow's Creek doesn't forgive weakness. You would have died, and they would have taken everything I built." I almost asked what she built, but the words caught in my throat. Because the truth was written in the canyon walls themselves, carved by men like me, desperate, hunted, clinging to whatever edge they could. Eliza wasn't just a saloon keeper. She was a queen of shadows, and this canyon was her throne room. A hawk screamed overhead. The sound twisted something in my gut. That cry, high, sharp, merciless, dragged me back to another canyon. Years ago, to another woman, to fire and blood. I gritted my teeth, forcing the memory down. But it clung like barbed wire. "Who were they?" I asked. "If only to drown out the ghosts." "Men who thought Widow's Creek was theirs," Eliza said. "Men who thought I was theirs. They were wrong." Her words cut sharp, but there was something else behind them, a shadow of hurt, a scar not yet faded. I knew that sound well. It was the sound of a wound you never let heal. The canyon narrowed. Shadows pressed closer. My horse snorted, uneasy. That's when I heard it hoofbeats. More than two, bouncing hard against the rock. I twisted in the saddle. Dust plumes rose at the canyon's mouth. 6 riders. No. 8. Moving fast. Guns already drawn. "Elisa!" She didn't flinch. Just raised her rifle. Eyes cold fire. "Then we make our stand here." We pulled to a halt, horses rearing, the canyon walls hemming us in like a grave. I slid from the saddle, Colt already in my grip, the memory of past gunfights clawing at my nerves. The riders fanned out, blocking the canyon's exit. Their leader, a man tall as a tree, with a coat made from wolf pelts, lifted his hand. "Blackthorn," he barked. "You can't outrun us forever. Drop the rifle and maybe I let your new boy breathe another day." Eliza smirked, the kind of smirk that made the canyon itself shiver. "If you want me," she said, "you'll have to bury us both." The wolf-coat outlaw laughed, a booming sound that rattled stone. "Then so be it." The fight came fast. Bullets sparked against rock. Horses screamed. Dust turned the dawn into a storm of grit and fire. I fired until the Colt clicked empty, smoke curling from the barrel. One rider fell, clutching his chest. Another toppled from the saddle with a cry that echoed long after he hit the ground. Eliza's rifle barked thunder, each shot precise, merciless. She didn't waste bullets. Every squeeze of the trigger was a death sentence. Still, there were too many. The wolfcoat charged, swinging down from his horse with an axe big enough to split a man in two. He barreled straight for me, eyes wild, teeth bared. I barely rolled aside as the blade chewed into stone. Sparks sprang. My fist met his jaw, bone cracking under the force. But he only roared louder, swinging again. The world narrowed to his fury and my desperate breath. My back hit the canyon wall. The axe rose, blotting out the sky. Then Eliza's rifle thundered once more. The wolfcoat froze. His eyes went wide. Slowly, he dropped the axe, blood blooming across his chest. Like a black rose, he collapsed at my feet. The remaining riders scattered, vanishing into the canyon's throat. Cowards when the tide turned, just like always. Silence fell again. My hands shook, though not from fear, from memory. Eliza dismounted, her boots crunching over gravel. She looked down at the wolf, Coat's corpse, then at me. "You've fought like this before," she said. Not a question, a statement. I swallowed hard. "Too many times." Her gaze sharpened. "Who did you lose?" The canyon blurred. My chest ached with ghosts. I saw her Clara smiling in the firelight. A wedding dress turned red in the dirt. Her scream still caught in my skull. "My wife," I forced out. "They burned her alive. Because of me." Eliza's eyes softened, just for a breath. Then the storm returned. "Then, you understand. Widow's Creek doesn't give mercy. It only takes." For the first time, I saw something real in her. Not just power, not just shadows, but pain, raw and unhealed. And for the first time, I wondered if Widow's Creek hadn't cursed her, too. We rode until the sun slid behind the canyon walls and shadows swallowed the trail. My horse's flanks were slick with sweat, every step echoing like a heartbeat against the stone. Eliza hadn't spoken in miles. She just kept her eyes fixed ahead, riding like she knew the path, even in darkness. Finally, the canyon spat us out into a wide basin. What waited there made my stomach knot. A town, or what was left of one. The buildings leaned like drunks, their windows smashed, doors hanging open like mouths frozen in a scream. The wind carried scraps of paper and whispers that didn't belong to the living. Signs dangled half-broken, Smith and Company, dry goods, post office, but no light, no laughter, no life. My horse balked, ears flat. "What is this place?" I asked. My voice hushed, like a prayer I didn't believe in. Eliza dismounted. Her boots crunched on gravel that hadn't known footsteps in years. She moved with the ease of someone who'd been here before. "This was Hollow Bend," she said, "until the Blackthorn men burned it." The name hit me like a stone to the chest. Blackthorn. I'd heard it whispered on the trail, always with the same bitterness you reserve for curses. "Your family?" I asked carefully. Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp, unreadable. "My burden," she said, simply. We led the horses through the empty street. The air stank of ash and rust, though the fire had died years ago. A church bell swayed in the breeze, clanging hollow against the silence. At the far end of town stood a house bigger than the rest, its porch sagging but still proud. the bones of a mansion clinging to its dignity. Eliza stopped there, her hand brushing the rail like it carried memory. "This was mine," she said softly, before it all turned to dust. For the first time since Widow's Creek, her mask cracked. Not much, just enough for me to see the girl she might have been before the shadows claimed her. "What happened?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she pushed open the door. Hinges wailed, and the smell of charred wood rolled out like breath from a grave. Inside, the house was a skeleton. Furniture blackened, walls scarred, ceiling open to the sky. But in the corner, one thing remained. A piano. Its surface was cracked. Its keys yellowed and broken. But it stood defiant, as if daring the world to take one more thing from it. Eliza's fingers drifted over the keys, tracing dust and ruin. "My father built this place," she whispered. "Said it would be the start of a dynasty. But dynasties bleed, just like men." The blackthorns came, and everything was gone in a night. Her voice dropped lower. "A storm's edge. I survived because they thought killing a girl wasn't worth the bullet. They were wrong." The firelight in her eyes could have set the whole house ablaze again. I wanted to speak, to offer something, but words felt cheap in a place like this. I knew loss. I knew ashes. But hers was carved deeper, sharpened into vengeance. A sound broke the silence. A shuffle. Soft. Too soft to be the wind. I drew my Colt, eyes scanning the ruined hall. Eliza stilled, her hand dropping to the rifle at her side. The sound came again from upstairs. We moved slow, every board groaning underfoot. My chest was tight, breath shallow. The stairwell yawned above us, shadows pooling thick as tar. At the top stood a figure, small, frail, a boy. His clothes were rags, his face streaked with soot, eyes wide as lanterns in the dark. "Eliza?" he croaked. My blood turned to ice. Her rifle lowered a fraction. "Daniel," she breathed. The boy swayed, gripping the doorframe for balance. "They said you were dead." Her face broke open, pain flashing raw before she slammed it shut again. "I was, but I came back." I kept my gun low, though my instincts screamed otherwise. A boy in a dead town? Something didn't fit. "Eliza," I murmured. "What is this?" Her eyes never left the child. "My brother," she said. The boy stepped closer, bare feet silent on the ash-stained boards. "They'll come back," he whispered. "The blackthorns. They never left. They watch me. They make me." His voice cracked. "Remember." Eliza moved like lightning, closing the space, dropping to her knees before him. She grabbed his shoulders, desperate. "Daniel, listen to me. They can't hurt you anymore, not while I breathe." His eyes, wide and empty, didn't blink. And in that stillness, I saw it, the mark burned into his arm. The blackthorn sigil. Branded, the room spun with the weight of revelation. Eliza's brother wasn't just a survivor. He was a prisoner, carved into flesh. My stomach turned. Widow's Creek's curse was no ghost story. It was this. Flesh and blood. Scar and fire. Eliza's hands trembled against his shoulders. For the first time, the Queen of Shadows looked like a woman drowning. And I realized then this story wasn't just hers anymore. It was mine too. The boy's whisper still clung to the walls when the first gunshot shattered the silence. Glass burst from the window beside us. Splinters stung my cheek. Daniel cried out, and Eliza dragged him to the floor, covering him with her body. I threw myself behind the ruined piano, the Colt already warm in my grip. Outside, boots thundered against the dirt. A mob's worth. Their shadows dance tall on the broken walls, firelight flickering like devils come to collect. They're here, Daniel sobbed. Eliza's eyes were steel. They never left. Voices roared from the street. Men, dozens of them. One boomed louder than the rest. Eliza Blackthorne. The debt is still unpaid. Tonight, we settle it in blood. I felt the boy shake, felt Eliza's rage pulse like heat through the floorboards. She pressed her forehead to his for one desperate heartbeat, then pushed him toward me. Stay with him, she ordered. Her rifle slid into place, her silhouette framed by the shattered window. Calm, unflinching. A queen standing on the bones of her throne. The first outlaw kicked the door open. The second never made it through. Eliza's shot blew him back into the dirt. Chaos poured in with smoke and gunfire. The house groaned under the weight of violence, each bullet a hammer blow. I returned fire, the Colt bucking in my hand. One outlaw collapsed into the hallway. Another screamed as he fell through the porch. Still, more kept coming. Shadows swarming like locusts. Daniel clung to me, his small fingers digging into my arm. They'll kill us, he whispered, eyes wide with terror. Not tonight, I told him. Though my voice shook, my aim did not. We fell back through the house, room by room, wood splintering, dust choking our lungs. Eliza moved like fire, every shot she fired cutting through the blackthorn tide. But for every man that dropped, two more seemed to crawl from the dark. In the wreck of the kitchen, we made our last stand. The table overturned into cover. The boy pressed between us. My bullets dwindled to 3. Eliza's rifle clicked dry, and then the world went silent. Boots crunched outside, deliberate, measured. A man stepped into the doorway, broad shoulders, a face carved from cruelty. Eyes blacker than midnight. The Blackthorn patriarch. Little Eliza, he drawled. His voice was a knife, dulled by years of use, but still sharp enough to cut. All grown up, playing queen of ashes. Eliza stood, her chest heaving, sweat streaking through the soot on her face. You should have finished me when you had the chance. The patriarch smiled, cold and thin. Killing you was a waste. Watching you become this, that was the lesson. He lifted his revolver, the barrel aimed at Daniel. But now the lesson's over. Time slowed. My heart slammed against my ribs. Eliza's scream tore the air apart. I moved without thought. My last 3 bullets sang. The first struck his gun, spinning it from his hand. The second buried into his shoulder, twisting him sideways. The third, meant for his heart, struck the wall as he ducked with inhuman speed. He lunged. We collided, fists in fury, the house shaking with every blow. His strength was monstrous, his rage endless. He slammed me into the wall, breath crushed from my chest. My vision swam. Then Eliza was there, knife flashing. She drove it deep into his side. The patriarch roared, backhanding her across the room. She struck the floor hard, blood at her lip. I staggered to my feet, my Colt empty, my lungs burning. But Daniel had the knife now. His small hands shook, yet his eyes burned with the same storm as his sister's. The patriarch sneered. Go on, boy. Be a Blackthorn. The room froze. Daniel's chest heaved. His knuckles whitened. Then, with a cry that was part child, part vengeance, he drove the blade upward. The patriarch's eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no words came. He collapsed, his blood soaking into the floor of the house he destroyed. Silence. Daniel dropped the knife, his whole body shaking. Eliza crawled to him, pulling him into her arms, holding him as if she could fuse his trembling bones into her own. I leaned against the wall, the world spinning, the taste of iron thick in my mouth. When Eliza finally looked at me, her eyes were wet but harder than ever. "It's done," she said, but we all knew it wasn't. The Blackthorn name didn't die with one man. It lived in the shadows, in the scars, in the curses whispered across the west. Outside, the wind howled through Hollow Bend, carrying ash into the night sky. I holstered the empty Colt, my hands steady though my heart was not. "Then we ride," I said, "because by sunrise, they'll all be coming." Eliza stood. Her brother clutched to her side. She nodded once, sharp as a gunshot. "And we'll be ready." We stepped into the night together, 3 silhouettes against the burning horizon. Widow's Creek wasn't cursed, it was chosen. And now, so was I. Thank you for listening to Western Romance Stories. If you enjoyed this tale of love and danger in the Wild West, give the video a like. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more untamed stories. Until next time, may your odds hold and your heart stay brave.